Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Storm Collectibles Golden Axe Battler Deluxe version. I said Battler, funny, but anyway, that's what it is. I loved playing Golden Axe as a kid, so I'm very happy to review this, and I'll just ask you right now, we'll do a quick question of the day. Do you guys want me to review more Golden Axe figures from Storm? They're pretty fun. This is one of the most fun things I've opened in a long time. Let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know which character is your favorite of the three main ones. We have the dwarf, I can't remember his name, and we have the girl, Tyrus Flare, I believe, also. So let me know about that. Okay, so yeah, very, very cool set, super fun, and it's great. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Since I'm in the habit of looking at packages before we get into the review, I'm going to do that for this one as well, just because I'm sure some of you are confused. Why is he blonde right there? But on the figure, he's not blonde. And that's simply because they had artwork when the game came out that looked like that, but in the game, he looked like that. So that matches the game. That's all. Okay. Pretty straightforward situation. Stop making shadows, dragon. Thing. I'm not sure if it's a full-on dragon. It's not really, I guess by definition. It doesn't have any wings and arms, whatever. Okay, so this guy stands roughly 20 centimeters. He's got some size. That's going to make him just shy of 8 inches. These are some big figures. I love that Storm is making Golden Axe figures, and I love that they're nice and beefy. No pun intended. Here he is up against Darwin, who is a little bit shorter. And his hand's reaching out for some reason. I don't know, Darwin. What are you doing there? Anyway, he's taller. Okay, so, I already did a question of the day. This guy is pretty cool. In some ways, it's a really, really nice sculpt. It's one of their more organic looking sculpts. Some of the body parts are very nicely done. But then we have some weird issues, mostly when it comes to the articulation. I'll talk about that later. But the first thing I have to mention is they made the tops of the thighs way too big. It looks pretty weird. The thighs are appropriately large, and that's fine, but where they get up here, they need to definitely be like shaved down quite a bit. I mean, that would make the whole thing, the articulation, work better and look better. But once you pose them, you're not going to see that, so it's no big deal. But the arms are nicely done. I think the chest is nicely done. The abs are nicely done. He doesn't have like a million pack. He's got more of a traditional like 2+ pack. Or I guess 4, however you want to count them. So that's good. The shading throughout looks pretty good. I like it. There's not a whole lot going on here. The silver paint is very shiny. I kind of wish these were separate pieces rather than painted on. That way we could hide that joint. But I guess they had to save some budget because this pack has so much stuff in it for not that much money. Like, it's expensive, but considering what you get, it's not that expensive. But yeah, he looks pretty darn good. I'm pretty pleased with it for a fairly basic design. I'm alright with it. And the head sculpt is nice. The face paint's nice. That looks good. Yeah, I'm pleased. I like it. Before we continue the rest of the review, I want to continue talking about the aesthetic when we look at his dragon thing, buddy. And it's got shading throughout. All of the red has a darker red shading. The orange to yellow to red shading around on the top of the head, all around the face. The eyes are painted, teeth are painted, mouth is painted, claws, the underbelly. This thing looks nice. This is a nice set. The little thing right here is glossy, so is this one. It's a really, really good looking set. The brown here has a different finish. I like it. It's very cool. But wait, there's more. We have to talk about more for the aesthetic. We also get these two skeletons, which are really the same skeleton times 2, so we'll only look at one for now. But it's also painted surprisingly well. This skeleton has more paint on it than Darwin. It's also articulated fully, and that's pretty cool, but we'll talk about that later. So you get 2 full skeletons, a dragon horse thing, and Axe Battler, who does not use an axe. He only has a sword. It's all aesthetically very pleasing. I'm going to go 9 out of 10. Could it be better? Sure, but you're getting a heck of a lot of good stuff here for a decent price. Now, as far as accessories go, he does have an alternate head with the angry face, and that's pretty good. He comes with 2 fist hands on him in the package, then you get 2 sword gripping hands, 2 kind of open hands, and then 2 wide open hands. You do get his sword, which is very nicely detailed. I like that a whole bunch. You get the dragon thing that I mentioned already, and he can blow a fireball, which is very nicely detailed. I love the shading on there. Looks very cool, and that thing has a clear acrylic stand to hold it up. As far as the dragon guy's articulation goes, it's fairly minimal. You do get a double ball peg for the tail, but it doesn't really do much, especially with these little fin thingies back here. You can't really do a whole lot of crazy posing. It's going to be mostly just for leaning it side to side, just a little bit, and then it pops off too easily. So I would just use the tail as a third leg basically to keep him from falling over, because his hips don't have a ton of range. They just rotate forward and back just a little bit. The knees have just a tiny bit of range, and the ankles have a good deal of range, I guess, sort of. The toes are too loose. They have decent range, but they're definitely too loose, and this guy likes to fall over forward because he's very front heavy. For the shoulders, I think it's a ball hinge, or at least it's a swivel hinge, I guess I should say. So they do swivel forward and back. They do hinge out a decent amount. Elbows have a single hinge, not quite 90 degrees. It rotates there. Wrists are on a ball hinge like all the main figures. So relatively basic, but not bad. And then the neck, I'm not sure if it's a single or a double. Okay, we found out. It's a double. But much like the tail, it pops off too easily and doesn't have a lot of range. So it's better than not posing, but it's not great. For the head, it does move around a good deal, I would say. That's pretty cool. And the jaw does open. So, not bad for an accessory. I quite like it. And then you do also get the two skeletons. So I'm going to run through the articulation on a skeleton really quickly. It's actually surprisingly well articulated, and this is the same skeleton we saw with Motaro as far as the sculpt goes. So it's a ball peg for the head. It'll move around however you need to. The jaw does open. Ball hinge for the shoulder. You can get the arm all the way up. It'll rotate. Pretty much full range. Same thing for the elbow. You get a 90-degree bend. You do get your rotation out of that if you need it. And then the wrists are also on a ball hinge. There are two ball hinges in the torso, so it can bend over really well. And it leans back not as far, but it does work. Big ball peg for the hip, and then a ball hinge. So you can move the legs around really well. These guys pose a lot better than I thought they were going to when they first announced them. Ooh, that's a tight joint. But perfectly good range. You get a thigh swivel also. Ball hinge for the knee, a little bit better than 90. And then you get your ankle hinge, which is a ball hinge. It's pretty limited, but it's okay. So not bad, I think, for kind of a throwaway figure, which is also an accessory. I think that's pretty darn good. I think I would probably lean his torso in a little bit more like this. Yeah, his pelvis was forward, so you can actually lean back farther and lean forward slightly less, but still basically all the way. So that's probably how you would want him, right like that. So that's pretty good. And then each of the skeletons has a total of 10 hands, so that's awesome. They also each get a sword, and they also each get a shield. That's a whole lot of stuff. I'm not sure what else you could possibly want, realistically speaking. I mean, there's more stuff from the game, of course, but that's a whole lot of stuff. So I'm just going to go 9 out of 10. That's pretty cool. You could even argue 10 for the price point, but that's probably fine. Okay, for the articulation, he does have the barbell in the neck, ball peg that goes into the head, one that goes down into the torso. It's pretty stiff. I've had some trouble moving his head around. It works, but it's a little tighter than I would like it to be, so it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it does work. Shoulders move around really nicely on that ball peg. And then you have your shoulder hinge also. So plenty of range there, no problems. It's a nice, creamy, buttery smooth joint. It's a good one. I like that. The bicep swivel does fight itself against the shoulder, but it does work, so that's fine. Double jointed elbow gives him not as much range as I would like. It's just better than 90. I'd like them to cut away just a little bit more plastic to give us better range, but it's acceptable. You do get a ball hinge for the wrist, which gives you plenty of range. Diaphragm joint, ball pegs in there, so he does lean back on that joint. Not a ton, but enough. And then he leans forward quite a bit, so that's pretty good, though there's a huge gap, so don't look at him from the back when you lean him forward. And side to side is solid enough. I'll take it. Of course, you get your rotation. Now, problem here is he's got very tiny trunks, and they cut away his torso abruptly in order to make room for the thighs, What they needed to do is make the trunks just a little bit bigger, fudge it some, make the thighs a little bit narrower, and bring this down some at the torso to make it better looking. Because once you pose him, he's just gappy everywhere at the waist. So that blows big time. I mean, unless you just lean him forward a little bit. But rotation seems to be okay. The trunks, I'd like them just a little bit bigger. Luckily, they don't have that big plastic piece getting in the way down here behind his peeper that we saw on Kuma. Kuma's the guy from One Piece. On, what's the character's name? King. So that's good. His peeper is hollow, which is what you want so that it doesn't get in the way. But his tiny trunks get annoying as you're posing his legs. But if you're careful to not get the trunks tucked in, you can pose his legs all the way out. Full on splits. That's awesome. And see, this is what I was talking about. There's no giant flat piece of plastic in there to like line the bottom of the trunks. You don't need that. The trunks can't go anywhere, so that's much better. So that's better than on King. I like that. And really good range out to the side. The hips are not super tight. That's cool. Bringing the legs forward could be a little tighter. Could be a little better range, but they bump into the lower torso because they're so meaty. So not the best range ever, but it's okay. And then going back, his trunks will flex out of the way, but the legs aren't tight enough to fight that. So his legs are fairly loose front to back. Maybe that's just on mine, but the trunks being even soft plastic do fight the legs quite a bit in that direction. So be aware of that. Thigh swivel is there, so that's pretty good. Double jointed knee gives you all the range you could want. Proportioning is nice. Upper legs are appropriately long. Lower legs are nice and short compared to them, so that's good. Ankles go all the way back and not that far forward. Still limitation on Storm figures. The ankles do not go that far forward. Decent ankle rocker though, that's good. Toe hinge is acceptable. It's in a good location and it's not loose, so that's nice. And now, the cool thing, you actually get a boot swivel, which we don't usually see from Storm, so that's nice. Is it the best articulation they've ever done? Definitely not. They have some real heavy hitters like Sagat, who was really, really good, and a couple other ones that have been awesome. This one's not bad though. I will give this one an articulation rating of 7 out of 10. Could definitely be better, but I think it's definitely gonna get the job done. So that's a good thing. And he does sit on the horse dragon thing fairly well, so that's a good thing. So, time for a final rating on this set. It's one of the most fun things I've reviewed in a long time. It's gonna look awesome on a shelf, and like, yes, it's expensive, but you're getting a whole lot for your money, and I think it's worth it. So I'm gonna give this set a final rating of 9 out of 10. If you're into this sort of stuff, you should track it down. Big Bad Toy Store does have these in stock right now, so tracking it down is easy. There's a link in the description below. Just click it and buy it. That's what I would do. It's a very cool set. So yeah, 9 out of 10. There it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos every day but Wednesday, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.